Model off-duty is an abstract term under street style, as it does not have a distinctive visual identity, but is one that is often recognized, admired, and influential, that comes from a model's personal style or their personal stylist. In the 1980s, the role of supermodels transformed into what we now recognize as public figures. And in the 90s, the title supermodel became more prominent not only in the fashion industry, but also in media and culture, as supermodels became seen as celebrities. Model off-duty street style came to be highly popular, as models could share more about their personalities and look just as chic off the runway, which their growing fan bases adored and emulated. From everyday looks and airport outfits to party glam and debuts into media, models began to have their own influence on trends and style that truly resonated with those within and outside of the industry. This influence was so impactful because of the degree of reality within aesthetic. It's practical, aware, comprehensive, and unique. This also allowed for different essences of styles, culture, and influences to intersect and be channeled into fashion in different ways, as many models came from all around the world and could contribute new ideas and approaches to fashion. Trends created or inspired by models were often integrated into the common everyday market. This occurs because of parasocial interaction. It's a one-sided relationship that is highly emotional, typically between a person and someone of a celebrity status, despite having limited interactions with them. This developed in the mid-1950s, around the time that television was becoming the primary source for consuming media, also when street style became a more common term. Earlier on, Twiggy in the 1960s was well known for her simplistic fashion approach. She was one of the defining faces of London's swinging 60s.
I think we can say Twiggy is sort of the mini queen of the new social aristocracy, and it's...
through her mod looks and chic minimalism, who went on to conquer the world of fashion. In the late years of the 60s, she diversified her looks more with patterns and color, as she went on to begin her own clothing line that carried her name. This contributed to the influence of the model off-duty look, as those who looked up to Twiggy were able to actually purchase clothing that was her exact style, which aided in the development of the parasocial interaction between well-known models and their fans wanting to dress in a similar manner. In the 70s, Marissa Barrison was dubbed the Girl of the 70s by YSL, considering her grandmother was the legendary Elsa Schiaparelli. Fashion was part of her DNA. Her it girl status and position in the industry allowed her to aid in the development of 70s trends, as she sported the classic looks associated with the time, combining military elements and folk embroidery by utilizing subcultural and intersecting styles or trends to create her outfits. She created her own unique look that many still reference today, since in the 70s the role of the celebrity was more established, and interest of their fashion was an established cultural norm. So by the 80s, the psychological relationship was a common one to experience. The model off-duty look created a new relationship within the dynamics of the fashion industry that has become more customary over time as people grew more connected to industry icons, one of them being Cindy Crawford, who won Elite Model Management's Look of the Year contest. Within months, the US had fallen in love with her all-American look. Cindy became one of the original Big Six supermodels and had the most commercial success. Crawford's personal style influenced many women. Her wardrobe consisted of signature American-influenced pieces, such as denim and sportswear, but also very feminine pieces such as the little black dress. Here she is wearing a LBB with an epic defining silhouette, a boxy tuxedo jacket, and strong shoulder pads. Masculine outerwear was a tried and tested look of Crawford's. She frequently would be seen in jeans with a black roll neck and a smart blazer, since it was her go-to look that never failed, worked perfectly with her busy schedule, and played a part in her classic model look. Another supermodel of this time who was very inspiring and had a huge impact on the industry was Somali-American supermodel Iman, who was discovered in the late 70s. Several top designers made her their muse and ensured that she graced the covers of hundreds of magazines. She wore very high fashion and daring looks, often playing with patterns and proportions that the 80s embraced. She accessorized heavily and unified her looks through the use of staple pieces to complement all the statements that she wore. As the end of the 80s came to be, she wore a monochromatic white outfit, consisting of a blazer, broad top, and skirts that hinted that the 90s might be more about minimalism, rather than the maximalism of the 70s and 80s. Kate Moss arrived at the end of the supermodel era. She rose to fame in the mid-1990s, during the heroin chic era in fashion, and is associated with grunge. Her rebellious nature and alluring personality defined her eclectic style that many drew inspiration from, as she would often bend the rules of fashion to suit her taste, or do her own take on 90s trends through using her love of minimalism and drama. For instance, her take on the little black dress, but wearing one with feathers to amp up the look, or pairing a micro mini skirt and massive white fur coats, a look capturing the essence of the quintessential 90s style. Her festival looks were very popular and are still referenced today. In the 90s, it inspired a lot of people to get into grunge-esque outfits, since music and fashion were becoming more intertwined. Also taking notes from streetwear and music, Naomi Campbell stated, "Being from London, my personal style has always been tremendously influenced by both the dynamic and ever-changing nature of street culture and the music scene." Naomi was discovered at the age of 15, and she established herself among the most recognizable and in-demand models of the 1980s and 90s. She was one of the 6 models of her generation, declared as a supermodel by the industry and international press. Naomi is the face of supermodel glam, and her dresses for events definitely fit this. She would sport dresses that encapsulated her icon status through silhouette, fabrics, and accessorizing. She had the perfect balance of sophistication and fun, within her street style utilizing staples and playing a lot of textures or patterns to adapt her look for the day. In the early 2000s, the decade was dominated by Brazilian bombshells and Russian doll-face beauties, giving us a different cultural background to be integrated into the model off-duty look. Vlada Vosliakova is a Russian model who appeared on more than 400 magazines. She is considered to be one of the most influential Russian top models of the 2000s. Vlada sports the more dark, casual off-duty, and typically looked ready for castings. She wears a model look that we're more familiar with today when she's working. She has the base foundation of skinny jeans, t-shirts, heels, and then pairs this with either a statement bag and/or coat. She does bring in other elements through layering and texture and hardware, through more unique pieces that express personality. Another model of this time from Brazil is Gisele Bündchen, who is one of the most successful models in the industry. Her street style look is very similar in nature, as they're both from the same time period, but Gisele looks more casual, sporty, or boho, while maintaining the classic model off-duty look. She knows her style very well, and has worn these same types of looks for over 2 decades.
How would you describe your personal style?
Comfy.
What's your favorite fashion trend of all time?
Skinny jeans.
She has adapted to trends in the past, but most of her wardrobe is very timeless and effortless, since she relies heavily on pieces like these steadfast leather jackets, classic button-downs. Then for shoes, either turns to sneakers or statement heels, depending on the occasion. These pieces were her go-tos and have contributed to the street style narrative. Into the 2010s, we have a new era of models. Within them, one is Kaya Gerber, who, much like Gisele, has a more casual street style look, wearing a lot of tees and sneakers, but pairs them with structured blazers, leather jackets, sunglasses, and other trendy accessories. Kaya is the daughter of supermodel Cindy Crawford. Gerber made her runway debut for Raf Simons' Calvin Klein collection at 16 years old in 2017 and has established herself in the industry. A common theme within her street style is that there's often an offset, meaning she offsets the traditional essence of looks. For example, wearing sneakers with a more done-up look, or pairing very feminine pieces with traditionally masculine ones. Kaya often will integrate trends of the season into very timeless looks, having a part grunge, part vintage, part modern, and part glamour wardrobe. Street style has now become very fast-paced and is now a very compelling facet of fashion that has shifted the way that fashion is viewed, worn, and even thought of. Style cues are nothing new, but the way that people consume the model street style look has evolved into one that is not only aligned with style icon status, but also status in general. It's the relationship in which one style has a considerable influence within fashion media and those who consume it because of alignment, the utilization of individualism, rather than a sole focus on current trends, is what makes the model off-duty look so successful in demonstrating multiple negotiated identities while sharing cultural backgrounds, interests, and depicting one's values within the fashion industry today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and comment. Thank you so much for watching.